Once upon a time, in a village nestled between snow-covered hills and sparkling rivers, there was a little boy who loved nothing more than making snowmen in his front yard. Every day after a fresh snowfall, he would roll and stack perfect spheres of snow, until he had created the most spectacular snowman imaginable. He would give them carrot noses and twiggy smiles and coal eyes that twinkled like stars. Then, when dusk began to fall, and the children inside their homes were snuggled up under warm blankets, something truly magical would happen. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, the snowmen would wake up. At first it was just one snowman coming to life, then another, and soon there was a whole parade of frosty friends tiptoeing down the street. Now you have to remember, these weren't ordinary snowmen. Oh no, these were super snowmen. They could talk and walk and even fly. Their breaths shimmered like fog and their smiles were as bright as the North Star. As they made their way through the silent town, they would peek into the windows of the houses to make sure the children were fast asleep. Then they would hurry on to the forest at the edge of the village, where each night they held a grand festival under the shimmering moonlight. The snowmen would play all sorts of wonderful games. They would glide across frozen lakes that glowed with a beautiful blue light, leaving trails of silver in their wake. They sipped on cups of frost cocoa that sparkled like stardust, and sometimes they built ice castles that rose up tall and proud under the dancing northern lights. The snowmen loved to tell stories around their crackling frost fires. Tales of daring adventures and mischievous sprites and magical creatures that lived deep in the snowy woods. Sometimes the bravest snowmen would climb aboard their sleds and race down the slopes of nearby mountains. These mountains were made of pure crystal and glittered with an otherworldly glow. As the sleds sped along, they left trails of sparkling light behind them, making it seem as though shooting stars were streaking across the landscape. One evening, as the snowmen were preparing for their festival, there was a small commotion in the crowd. A young snowman stood apart from the others, watching them with sad eyes. His name was Lumi, and he was the newest member of the Snowman Club. You see, Lumi wasn't like the other snowmen. He was much smaller, no bigger than a child's snowman, and he worried that the other snowmen thought he was too young to play their exciting games. Now Lumi loved nothing more than watching the other snowmen play. He would gaze at them with envy as they zoomed around him, their laughter echoing through the frosty air. But he was too shy to ask if he could join them. So, night after night, he sat on the sidelines, feeling left out and wishing he could be part of the fun. Deep down, Lumi felt that he wasn't good enough or strong enough to play with the other snowmen. He was sure that they would laugh at him and say he was too little to join their games. As the other snowmen prepared for their races and snowball fights, Lumi would watch from afar, hiding behind a tree or a snowbank, trying to be brave, but his heart ached with sadness. Now Lumi wasn't the only one who noticed that something was wrong. There was an old snow woman who was very wise and kind. She had been part of the winter festival for many years, and she had seen it all. The snow woman had a gentle heart, and she could unbear to see the little snowmen so unhappy. So one night she approached Lumi and asked him why he wasn't playing with the others. At first, Lumi tried to hide his face in his scarf. He didn't want the snow woman or anyone else to know that he was sad. But the snow woman was wise, and she knew that Lumi was struggling. So she put a comforting hand on his shoulder and said, "Little snowman, why do you sit alone when the others are having fun?" Lumi took a deep breath and finally told her how he wanted to play, but he didn't think he was good enough. The snow woman listened patiently, and when Lumi was finished, she gave him a warm smile. "Oh, little snowman," she said, "every one of us has a special gift, something that makes us unique and wonderful. Your time will come when you discover what your gift is, but until then, you must believe in yourself and never give up hope." After the snow woman left, Lumi felt a little better, but he still couldn't bring himself to join the other snowmen. He wanted to believe in himself, but it was hard when he felt so small and weak. As the nights went by, Lumi continued to watch the others play, and his heart grew heavier with each passing day. Then one night, something magical happened. One of the children from the village woke up and saw the snowmen playing in the moonlight. The boy couldn't believe his eyes. He had heard stories about snowmen coming to life, but he had always dismissed them as silly fairy tales. But there they were, dozens of snowmen frolicking in the moonlight, their laughter echoing through the silent night. The boy wanted to call out to the snowmen, but he knew they would disappear if he did, so he lay back down and pretended to be asleep. But as the weeks passed, the boy couldn't stop thinking about the snowmen. he dreamed of joining them and playing their enchanting games. Then one night, the boy decided to follow the snowmen and discover their secret. He put on a thick coat and a hat, and as soon as the moon climbed high in the sky, he slipped out of his house and into the forest. The boy walked carefully through the trees, trying to make as little noise as possible. He didn't want the snowmen to see him, but as he approached the clearing, he heard their joyous laughter and the sound of their voices, and he couldn't help but step out from behind the trees and into the moonlight. Suddenly, all the snowmen turned to look at the boy. They had never seen a human before, and they didn't know what to do. The boy was scared at first, but then he realized that the snowmen weren't dangerous. They were friendly and curious, just like him. The snowmen welcomed the boy to their festival, and he spent the rest of the night playing their games and drinking frost cocoa with them. The boy had so much fun that he didn't want to go home. But as the first rays of sunlight began to peek over the horizon, the snowmen had to hurry back to their yards before they melted. The boy watched as they disappeared one by one, leaving him all alone in the clearing. From that day on, the boy kept the snowmen's secret, and he would often visit them during their festival. The snowmen were happy to have a friend who could play with them during the day, and the boy was grateful for their friendship. As the seasons changed and the snow melted away, the boy and the snowmen's friendship grew stronger with each passing year. They knew that no matter what, they would always have each other's friendship to warm their hearts and fill their lives with joy. And as for little Lumi, well, he learned that he didn't need to be the biggest or the strongest snowman to be part of the winter festival. His special gift was his kindness and his gentle spirit, and the other snowmen loved him for it. Every night as the moon climbed higher in the sky, the snowmen would come to life and dance beneath the stars. They would glide across frozen lakes and build ice castles, and they would remind each other to believe in themselves and never give up hope. And whenever the sky grew dark and gloomy, they would look up and remember the words of the wise old snow woman. "Every one of us has a special gift," she had said, "something that makes us unique and wonderful." And together, their gifts made their friendship sparkle like 1,000 stars.